Oh boy, good old CNN Plus, what a brilliant idea from the failing cable news network. Let's start yet another streaming service as if the typical cable watcher hasn't made it very clear that you suck already. Now, of course, I've been bearish on this platform from the start, as have you, as has everyone, but not in my wildest dreams did I think it would flame out quite this quickly. My God, it hasn't even been a full month. I believe it launched on March 29th. It barely lasted 3 weeks. They paid Chris Wallace millions of dollars to make the jump from Fox News to be the face of this platform. This from Variety. Warner Brothers Discovery is shutting down CNN Plus and is expected to provide details Thursday according to 2 people familiar with the matter. This making one of the company's first significant maneuvers since completing the merger of Warner Media and Discovery less than 2 weeks ago. Spokespersons for CNN and Warner Brothers Discovery could not be reached for immediate comment. The decision puts an end to a venture that people familiar with the matter say rankled David Zaslav, the new CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, from the start. Zaslav was annoyed by the decision of Jason Kilar, the former CEO of Warner Media, when it was owned by AT&T to launch CNN Plus just weeks before Discovery was set to take over operations. My apologies for the rambling, lengthy, almost not understandable sentences in this article. It's no surprise to see, though. Variety articles, for some damn reason, are still something in line with a 4th grader's English book report. But anyways, here's a few headlines over the last 30 days or less than that might have been an indicator to the demise of CNN Plus. Here's an article dated March 30th. Report: 1 day after launch, CNN Plus already preparing for layoffs. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Here's one from April 12th. Here we go. CNN Plus already set for big cuts in parentheses after few consumers subscribe following launch. April 19th. Ooh, ah. Parent company suspends all external marketing for CNN Plus. Lays off CNN's CFO. The last post is especially worth reading as it cites an Axios item describing the intense annoyance of CNN's new owner that the platform went live before the merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery was completed. The new company has a lot of doubt and for damn good reason, and it's looking to cut costs where it can. The last thing it needed was to launch an untested new streaming platform which no one but Jeff Zucker saw the value in. Well, actually, I'm sure tone-deaf little Bri probably thought it was all the rage as well. That guy reads a room about as good as Jeffrey Dahmer. Anyways, obviously CNN and Warner Brothers should have postponed the launch until after Discovery had decided whether it could afford to follow through with it. Instead, apparently, trying to force Discovery to support CNN Plus, they went ahead with the launch anyways. So, essentially, CNN was saying point blank to Discovery, you wouldn't dare shut down this very expensive streaming service after it's already broadcasting, would you? Well, guess what? So anyways, this is a historic fiasco I'm going to enjoy thoroughly. A question for now is, they have to move Chris Wallace over to CNN, right? They're not just going to eat his contract while getting nothing out of him, are they? Here's little Bri Stelter, who hosts a daily show on CNN Plus, reporting on his own platform's demise. Noteworthy, David Zaslav, the chief executive of Warner Brothers Discovery, has said that he wants to house all the company's brands under one streaming service. Some CNN Plus programming may eventually live on through that service. The Axios story I mentioned earlier also flagged that possibility. WBD eventually wants to build a mega streaming service around HBO Max and Discovery Plus, and there was talks that CNN Plus might be tacked on to sweeten the pot for cord cutters. But today's news makes it sound like they're abandoning ship on the idea of CNN Plus altogether. Maybe a more limited news feature to the new mega streaming service will be born out of CNN Plus, hosted by Chris Wallace, perhaps. Funny thing though, Stelter was promoting CNN Plus as recently as just a few hours ago. This tweet from 10 a.m. this morning. Streaming now on CNN Plus. Reliable sources daily with guests, blah, 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 blah. Aw, poor guy. Here's another update from Axios. Operations will cease on April 30th. I didn't think I'd live long enough to see something replace New Coke as a byword for business disasters. Okay, so to wrap things up, so to speak. Bottom line, the important takeaway, for me at least, after years of basically all leftist news outlets and most any other programming expressing woke idiocy, losing huge numbers of viewership, we now finally see, eventually, after years, the financial chickens have indeed come home to roost. Now, of course, that's not in all cases. It's no secret that YouTube makes absolutely no money. They survive off the teat of Google, or they wouldn't be throwing everyone off that's worth watching over the last 4 to 5 years. And of course, we've watched lately as Twitter's board reacted to Elon Musk's offer with zero economic concern. It's all ideology all of the time for these people. No one really appreciates how powerful ideology truly is. The way they see it, and don't get me wrong, because they're absolutely right. The less the American public are exposed to common sense ideas and practical, responsible behaviors, the less self-reliant we will be, and the more frantic and confused we will be. Translation: easier to control and definitely easier to fool. That's been the struggle with all forms of media and really all forms of entertainment for a long time, but much more crucial over the last few years. You see, if there wasn't a war against reality in this country, funded by woke corporate types and shadowy government players, the market of sensible people would have done away with the likes of Little Bri Stelter, Joy Reid, Don Lemon, and so many more promptly. You see, if there wasn't an all-out war against reality and common sense, which is really an easy way of saying Western values, our 4-, 5-, and 6-year-olds would know a hell of a lot more about what a Chinese Uyghur slave is than the bullshit founding principles of Black Lives Matter and how to respect one's gender fluidity. My apologies, I don't mean to detract from the what should be celebration of CNN's failures. But even with all that being said, this could be another sign that the free market works, even if it takes several years to kick in. The woke corporations have got to eventually make money for their shareholders. Oh, and lastly, I have heard rumors that Elon did find another several $1 billion through investors to sweeten the Twitter pot, so to speak. This should get interesting.
So at CNN, where there is a shortage of self-awareness, supply chain issues apparently, the House Eunuch took the opportunity to squeak, to gloat about the fall of Netflix. Watch this.
Netflix getting awful reviews for its poor Q1 earnings report. The stock tanking right now. What it means for your sharing of passwords and much more. Netflix, more like Notflix. It's pretty bad. I think what happened for Netflix for a while, they were high on their own supply. They believed they were the future of everything. Everything was going to be streaming all the time. And maybe that's not quite true.
They were high on their own supply. They convinced them of something that was implausible. They told themselves lies. Yeah. Well, it turns out that CNN's own streaming service called CNN Plus is now shutting down. Fox Business's Charlie Gasparino predicted this would happen weeks ago. In response to that, the spokesman over at CNN, Mac Dornick, wrote back and scolded him. Quote, "For the record, we are very happy with the launch of CNN Plus and are bracing for a long run of success." Weirdly, viewers didn't agree, even though CNN Plus went on to air several bombshell exclusive interviews, including one with Tony Fauci, where he said he's for mask mandates. And yet, weirdly, nobody watched. Charlie Gasparino called it right. He's a reporter for Fox Business. Our friend joins us tonight. Charlie, have you gotten a call from CNN apologizing?
I'm not holding my breath either. You know, listen, I've been dealing with flacks complaining about my stories for years. They were in the Trump administration. They were in the Biden administration. They were all over Wall Street. So, Mr. Dornick, just get online. You know, what can I tell you? The interesting thing here, I think, Tucker, is why they ever thought this thing was ever going to work. You know, think about it. CNN's programming, and I have friends over there, you know, they have a political point of view. It kind of matches what the Biden administration is doing. The Biden administration's approval ratings are very low. Okay.
Good point.
That's going to hurt their ratings. Then you throw on top of that a foray into streaming. streaming's a difficult business, as the Netflix examples you just put out shows. And you get probably some of the worst programming from that low-rated cable news network, such as Jake Tapper's book club and Anderson Cooper telling us how to be better parents. I mean, think about that for a minute. They got some blowhard from NYU, Scott Galloway, talking about tech. I mean, the guy, I don't understand why people would tune into this guy. Yeah. And I guess Chris Wallace, the aforementioned Chris Wallace, who, I'm not going to critique his journalism abilities. I'm sure he's very good at his job. I don't watch him much. I didn't watch him much when he was on our network. But I'm just going to say, that's not going to sell it. You need something to sell it. And I think that's the problem they have. And it took probably David Zaslav, who I know very well. I know what's in his mind, and that's kind of how I got onto the story. About 35 seconds to say, okay, we just pumped $500 million in this. We have a big budget. And guess what? We have to get $4 billion of cost savings because we just bought Discovery, just bought Time Warner. And as you know, David runs Discovery. So where's the low-hanging fruit? CNN Plus. That's the first one.
Do you really think? I keep reading that they spent, and I'm all for news companies spending a lot of money, particularly in the silent. On the other hand, could they really have spent $1 billion to bring you like a Tony Fauci interview with Chris Wallace or Eunuch or whatever?
Let's be clear. It's $500 million, which is still a lot of money. But yeah, I mean that's the problem. I mean, if you interview, I mean, think about how predictable the programming was. Jake Tapper's book club interviewing Tony Fauci about mask mandates. I mean, are you going to walk away with that with blaring headlines? Look what Mr. Fauci is saying, Dr. Fauci is saying about mask mandates, and that's part of the problem with their programming. It's predictably left progressive on the cable side, and it's predictably boring here. Hey, listen, I have friends there. They come at me and say, "Oh, you guys are predictable." I said, "Really? Am I that predictable? Is Tucker Carlson that predictable?" No. I mean, that's why that's TV. And
one thing I'll say in Fox's defense is we're not pompous and self-satisfied.
That's true.
That is, well, you need to do this. It's like, I don't know what you should do. Stop telling me what to do. How's that sound?
That's always been my attitude.
Amen. Great to see you tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tucker.
Some of this came by way of hotair.com. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.